Okay, and welcome to the first session in the author seminar series. Now, today, the session is going to be all around thinking about writing a book, getting answers you can't find online, because we can all use Google, let's be honest, and we can all download a free ebook, but learning from somebody who's actually been there and been there 21 times already and deleted anywhere up to 10 to 30,000 words in one hit of a keystroke. I wanted to share with you today what it's actually like to get started, the emotional and practical steps to keep a momentum, and the real world advice that you're not going to find anywhere else. Just be warned, I say it how I see it, I say it how I feel it, and I say what I think. Sometimes it gets me into trouble, lots of the time it doesn't. So let's just kick off then. So those of you who have joined live, thank you so much. Those of you who are watching the replay, thank you for taking the time to watch a replay. You're much better than me because I get sent replays and I very rarely watch them. So again, you can see how honest I am. So we're going to get started because one of the things that I know a lot of people worry about when they start writing a book is, one, getting started. Oh, which software do I use? Just use Microsoft Word. People that are telling you to use Scribe or Scriven or all of those others, Microsoft Word is just as I've written 21 books using Microsoft Word. I'm not employed by Microsoft, God no, but using Microsoft Word is absolutely the tool that I use. It's when people send me a manuscript, it's what I use for the editing and the formatting that I send out to my typesetter, who then uses their software to typeset. So Microsoft Word is what I use. I know that those of you who use Mac will be using, I don't know what you call it, Papers or something. And so, if you do work with me and you're using Mac, then you will need just send it to me. My system will convert it to a Microsoft Word document. So just start using the software, the document software that's on your laptop. You do not need to invest in anything other than that, and which you're already going to have on your laptop. I do draw the line at, sending me handwritten pages. Even though my father-in-law was a doctor and I am very good at reading handwriting, sending handwritten manuscripts to people, they're a thing of the past. We all know that. One of the other things about starting to write a book is making sure that, bear me a second, I've got an alarm going off, bear me a second. Okay, alarm has been switched off. That's telling me to do a 10-minute ad blaster. Again, completely honest, when you're writing a book, and you'll see step 7 at the end, you do need to be prepared to be sat down quite a lot and doing the 10-minute bursts of exercises, whether it's 10-minute yoga, 10-minute ab blaster, taking the dog for the walk. You are going to need to move. So that's the other thing that I want you to take into consideration when you are looking at the process of writing the book. So you will have probably heard of a lot of people telling you that you can do a lot of research by AI. You can if that's what you want to do. But you need to make sure that, as with whether you're using books or whether you're using white papers from universities or whether you're interviewing people, that you fact check. Because writing a book is very different to doing the research of the book. And you'll have people tell you that you can write a book in 24 hours. No, you can't. You just really can't. You can't even read a book in 24 hours. Well, I can. Some of us can. It's fast fiction is what I call them. So when you're going to sit down and write a book, are you actually going to do all of the research first and then write the book? Or are you going to write the book as you're researching? So you research, you write, you research, you write, you research, you write. And it's making sure that you've got those distinctions and those parameters all set up. You've got to know how you're going to structure your time and how you can structure your time. You're going to be able to free up some time, because this is not something that is to be taken lightly. Those who say that you can write a book in 24 hours, or that you is this because you have lots of documents that you're bringing together? Is this how you are going to, you've got lots of, you're using these formatting. You've got the diagrams. If you're using diagrams, you've got the interviews all typescript, transcribed, all ready to go. Are you putting them all together? And I'm going to try and share a slide. It's not something that I'm very good at. I'm a writer, not an IT specialist. So I'm going to try and share a slide right now. I probably won't be able to, but you will get these in the backup, the recording that I will try and send. And my assistant might actually be able to help me. Bear with me one moment. Probably take me longer than this to figure out than sorting out the the actual whole session. Dai, can you help, darling? Don't even know if I'm showing it. I might actually just be on the wrong setting. There. Okay, technical issues resolved. My friends used to call me a technically challenged unicorn, but there we go. So we have created the slides. They are working. Taye has helped me. So as you can see in this slide, I've written, just sit your ass down and write it, or stand. I've been known to have my laptop open on a table, write some words, dance a bit, come back, write some more, dance some more. I've been known to be sitting on sun lounges, writing, jumping in the pool, coming back out, drying myself, writing again. You've got to do what works for you. Sometimes when I'm desperately in the zone, and when I say desperately in the zone, it's like this message is coming out of me and I cannot stop writing. When you're in that space, you just sit down and you just pour this message that's inside of you out. But whatever it is, whether you are writing the people you want to thank, whether you're writing the middle of the book, whether you're writing just an idea, and you've got all of these elements, just start writing. Because what happens is at the end, once you've got all of this, or once you've started, the flow starts coming through to you and you know where things are going. And we've all read those books where you've got the ending at the beginning and then you give the backstory. We've all read a book where we're starting at the beginning and then it jumps to the end and then it jumps to the back to the middle. When you're going through the editing process, all of that will become clear because you'll be working with a structural editor. Now, the other thing to remember is that when you start writing, all the stuff that comes out first, it's just like taking the skim off the top. It's like, just imagine that you've made some hot milk and you've got that skin on the top and you just need to get rid of it. You just need to get all of the stuff out at the beginning, and the natural story that you're telling will then come out. Now, when I was writing Alpha, which is the 4th book in the sequel series that I'm writing, these are 9 true stories that I wrote of somebody else, of other people. And I had the privilege and the honor of writing and sharing their stories. Depending on what your story is about will depend on how your body reacts. Now, when I started writing Alpha, I probably had only written on about 7,000 words, and I needed to go to the bathroom because I needed to purge a lot of her trauma out of my body that I'd been keeping in my body. Because those of us who are writing books on trauma, we store the trauma within our bodies. It's why some of us are allergic to yoga. I call it allergic to yoga. We have this on-off love affair with yoga because when we're stretching our body and moving our body in certain ways, we're releasing the trauma. So just be aware that your body might have a reaction. There's a lady who has written a chapter in one of my books. She started writing, and it's something that she had pushed down and pushed down. And there were things that she needed to say. She lost her voice for 2 weeks because she'd actually said the things that she wanted to say. She also found that she was walking taller. Some people lose a lot of weight. Some people have come out in hives. These are the not so glamorous things that people do not tell you about what it is to write a book. So whatever you're doing, just sit down, write, and doesn't matter where you start. Okay. Step 2 is remembering this is not about you. Writing a book is never about the writer. You are going to go through a transformation whilst you're writing the book, and there are going to be things that you learn about yourself. But the people that are writing a book for their own ego or for the accolades or for the collection of a title, you're writing a book for the wrong reason. And I say that with all respect, because once you've written what you've written, your book is going to land in the hands of the readers. I've realized I'm not sharing my screen. Hang on. So in step 2, you have to remember that once you have written and published that book then goes out to other people. And those people who choose to buy your book have worked hard for the money. They are dedicating some of their income to purchasing your book, which you will receive, as well as the printers and everybody else that's taken part in bringing this book to fruition. They're then spending hours of their time reading your book and implementing the ideas or the strategies or the healing modalities that you have shared with them. They are considering you. They are spending time with you. And really, they don't care who you are. They care about what's in it for me. Now, those of us who have been salespeople, and running businesses, one of the first rule of sales is that we're told to consider what the buyer is considering. What is in this for me? We used to call it WFM. What's in it for me? Now, someone's only going to buy something if they're going to gain something from it. So you need to remember that when people read your book, they are reading either to escape their life, whether it's fantasy they're reading, or whether it is learning about somebody's journey, but they're learning from you, and they're probably doing some distance healing, because when you're reading about somebody else's success story or somebody's trauma story or someone's rag to riches story, they're actually healing parts of themselves on a very deep cellular level. And what you're sharing with them, you will get back. So if you're sharing shallow, empty content, then that's the kind of relationship that you're having with yourself and you're having with your author career. So it's about looking at, what do I want my reader to get out of this? What do I want the reader to take away and think about long after they've closed the book? Because this is not about you. And if you are only writing a book for ego purposes, or to get the bestseller status or the title of author, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, in my very humble opinion. But there we go. Okay, so the next step is write what's on your heart. Don't write the things that your business coach or your PR agency are telling you to write. Don't write the book that your friend down the road says you should be writing. Write what's in your heart. You can take the ideas of what your those whispers in your ear are about. Oh, you've got a really inspiring journey. You should share that. Or, oh my gosh, I find this really valuable. You should write about that. Probably write about it, but don't write about it in the way that they're telling you to write about it. Not even don't write about it in the way that the publisher is telling you to write about it. You need to write what's in your heart and in your soul, because that way you are going to write from flow. You are going to write a book that is worthy of your name. Now, I'm saying this as somebody who is a publisher and as a narrative coach, and somebody who is an author coach. So I don't tell my clients what to write. I guide them, I challenge them. We have a bit of what I call mental gymnastics. We have emotional gymnastics going on, because what I want to do is I want to draw out the story that you were born to write, the books that you are destined to write. Now, it might be that, for example, with a fantastic chap that I'm working with, Umberto, who wrote the War of Fear trilogy, but he's written book one so far. This book is something that he has had within him for 30 years, because he's been fascinated by a figure in history. And oh my God, what this man has read about this historical figure, Prince Yatate, who was the man behind Genghis Khan, or Chengiz, or Temujin, as he was known. And he had to write it, was going to write it as a single book. I was like, no, you can't. You cannot write this book as a single book. It would do an injustice to the 30 years of research and study, but also an injustice to the book itself and to the story itself. And once we started talking about it, he could see the potential, and he could see the reasoning behind it. This is a classic. This is an epic story. It cannot just be written in a single book. It also needs to be made into a film, as does the Tata story. But when you read the Eye of the Nomad, you'll understand who Tata is. So you have to write what's on your soul. You have to write what's burning to come out, what you spend your life learning about. You have to write that passion. And if it's a business book, write about why you're passionate about that business, about that industry, about that subject. That's what you need to be writing about, because you will write from flow and you will write from a deeper place, and it will help make the book evergreen. Step 4. This one is a big challenge for a lot of people, because building on from step 3, where you've got people whispering in your ear about what you should be writing about, you need to step out from behind the brand. You need to step out from behind the company name and the job title. You are more than that. You are a human being with raw emotions, trying to connect with other readers and with other human beings, because the best writers are the ones that read. Now, those of you who are writing a book and you do not read, I have a question. Why would anybody else want to read your book if you're not reading other people's books? Which leads me on to another question. Once you're published, if you're not prepared to buy copies of your own book to sell to other people, why would other people be interested in buying your book? You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to invest in your book. You've got to be willing to step up and promote your book. You absolutely have. And if you're not willing to do that, don't write a book in the first place. Unless, like one of my clients, her book is never really going to sell a lot, because that's not why she wrote it. She wrote the book to overcome imposter syndrome and to write it as a legacy piece for her family. So step out from behind the job title. You are more than that. Don't sell yourself short. You are more than a CV description. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're saying, actually, this is who I am. I matter. I matter in this world. My experiences matter. My knowledge matters. And that's not coming from a place of ego. It's coming from a place of inspiring others, of being a role model. And for some of us, we've never had role models up close and personal. There are people in this world that need people like yourself and myself to share what we know and what we've been through, so that they too can grow and learn and succeed in the ways that we have. And that doesn't mean that we've achieved multi-millions or billions or big glass office buildings. Success is all relative. I have more respect for somebody who started with nothing and traveled a long and arduous journey to get to their success than people that were born with it and didn't do much, because success is distance traveled. It's not the possessions that we have. In my humble opinion, I have very humble opinions that I'm very willing to voice, as you can tell. So when you remove hiding behind a job title or the fear of writing something that maybe the company that you work for, the investors or the board of the company you work for, the company that you own, when you remove and step out from behind those titles and those brandings and company names, you step into your own and you step into a new version of yourself, a new level of confidence, a new level of courage, and you then start to write again with power. And you get to know yourself on a whole other level. Trust me, every single one of my clients have, well, they're like new people. They've either quit drinking, they have healed wounds with their families, they have brought their families together after decades of separation, they have completely changed careers, or they've actually just fallen in love with who they are. And that's one of the beauties of writing a book and why you should write a book. You get to know yourself, and what better person to get to know than the person that you actually are. The other step when you're writing a book, this one I find quite powerful, is when you write like you speak, it becomes so much easier. Forget about writing grammar terms. Forget about writing in somebody else's voice. Unless you're writing fiction, and I'm just going to address the fiction thing because a lot of what I'm speaking to does apply to both non-fiction as well as fiction. But this particular step, the only place that you would not write in your own voice is if you're writing multiple characters. But when you do write that, I want you to step into the world of that character. So, for example, if I am when I'm reading to small children, either as a teacher or as a parent, whenever I read the voice of a pirate or a farmer, I would resort to my Norfolk upbringing. Now, those of you who are from Britain, you'll know that when people from Norfolk, we speak like this. And I used to speak like this all the time, but I don't speak like that anymore. I've traveled the world. It sounds so weird hearing myself. Gosh. Um, but when you step into these different characters, imagine yourself as that, walk like that, maybe possibly, and I won't say really dress like that, because sometimes that could be, you're talking about someone who's living in 1844, like one of the characters in the book I'm reading at the moment. I haven't got the big gowns, I haven't got the soldiers' outfits and the muskets and everything, because I'm reading about the Crimea War. But again, try and imagine yourself and visualize yourself as that person. How would you walk? How would you feel? And write from that space. If you're writing nonfiction, write it in your own voice. Do not allow an editor or a publisher or the media to silence your voice or to water down what it is you have to say. And if you want to swear, if that's who you are, that is who you are. If, like me, there are certain words you say that are from a different language, but they become your normal, then use them. Because the thing is, when you're interviewed about your book, and you will be interviewed about your book if you do the marketing properly and effectively, when you're being interviewed, people will then hear the book through your words, and they will also hear you when they're reading the book. You will give another deeper level and a layer of context to what it is that you're writing, and it makes it more real for people. I've had readers who have contacted me that have heard me on a podcast or delivering a workshop like this, that have read my book. They're like, oh my God, I've just seen you waving your hands around. I've heard your dirty giggle. I've heard that they hear me when they're reading, and it makes them laugh even more, or it makes them cry, or it really evokes those feelings. So write as yourself. Now, that also means that you also, I think it's step 6, you need to forget about the grammar police. Now, I have a couple of clients that I've worked with. One loved a full stop or a period, as they say in the US. One of them, I think, just never knew what a period or a full stop was. And I said to them both, if I just combined the pair of you, I'd get the right amount of full stops and punctuation marks for both your books. One of them over punctuated, one of them didn't punctuate. And trust me, when you're editing a book that's not had any punctuation, that's a challenge. And but you do need to forget about the grammar police. Do not allow a teacher from 3rd grade to live in your head rent free. They're not who you are now. Just write. If you put a comma in the wrong place or in the right place, or that's something for the editors and the proofreaders to pick up. That's something for your author coach to pick up. And it doesn't matter. I mean, some people don't know what an Oxford comma is. Those of us who read classic books, we know what they are. We know what all the different clauses are, the inclusive and the exclusive clauses. We know about lots of things that, such as the devices and the tonal and the temporal. And most of us know what a metaphor and a simile is. But that's our job. If we can actually help coach you on how to write better, but we want you to write from who you are and what your knowledge is now, because then as you progress through the book, you'll be able to see your growth as a writer. That's what author coaches and editors are there for, to help you become a better writer, not to silence you, not to change your voice, not to change what it is that you're writing, but to help you become a better writer. That's what you're investing in. Now, you'll notice that I've put that it doesn't matter whether you're a 1-spacer or a 2-spacer. Those of you like myself, we're 2-spacers. And this means it's 2 spaces after the full stop. Since the onset of computers, um, I'm showing my age now, it's actually become very commonplace, as Linda, my publishing manager, will tell you, to use 1 space. The psychologists among us will know that putting 2 spaces in between the full stop and the next letter is actually better for readers on a psychological level. It's been proven, I think, by Stanford, that it's actually better for people to read something with 2 spaces. But, you know, what can we do? It's an ongoing debate. It's been ongoing for a long time. It's a lot of fun. It can actually reduce the number of pages of the number of pages within your book, because depending on how many words you've written, how many sentences you've written, 1 space and 2 spaces can actually equal several pages. And like I've said at the bottom, your job is to write. It's not to edit. So write. No excuses. Now, coming up to the final step, which I should have remembered earlier at the beginning of this, is switch off all notifications and make sure you are without interruption. Because the thing is, I mean, I don't understand people who have notifications on their phones. I mean, that was an alarm telling me to do my ad blaster today. I'm going to have to switch that to 10 minutes before this session or after it, just so that I make sure that I'm getting my energy levels up and that, sitting down, all my muscles, like my core muscles, because when we sit down, our core muscles get a bit lazy and we start to slump. So I do a 10-minute ad blast. But switch off all your notifications. I never get notifications for emails, for social media platforms or WhatsApp or whatever. I have no notifications other than alarms telling me I need to go to, but even my notifications when I'm working are silent. But if you want to sit down and smash out your book and you've done the research and you're right, okay, I've got all my research, I know what I'm doing, I've got the format, now you need to write. I would also say disconnect from Wi-Fi. Because if you remember at the very top of this webinar, I did say that I have been known to dance around. When I was in the jungle, I lived in the jungle of Costa Rica for several weeks. I was writing a book there. It was great. There was no Wi-Fi. We had a generator which just charged up the laptops at night. But throughout the day, we had no electricity. Just loved it. And I would write in the hammock. I would just sit there and I'd be writing in the hammock, or I'd be in the dining room. the dining room, and um, I would the laptop was on the table, and I'd get up and like be, oh yeah, a great tune, and then I'd dance around and I'd come back, I'd do some more writing. I've written books when I've been sailing at sea on big tall ships across the Atlantic Ocean. I have written on deserted islands. Well, not obviously that deserted because I arrived there. It wasn't that deserted and we had access, but very remote islands around the world. Um, and some of the best writing I've ever done has been in those places where there's no Wi-Fi, no one can contact me by phone. It's been blissful. So take yourself away and do a writing retreat. If you want to go build a shed, or you've got Roald Dahl wrote most of his books in a garden shed that he converted uh, in the back of his garden. And I mean, he was blessed. Obviously, we didn't have Wi-Fi then. He wrote it all on yellow paper with a pencil. Imagine all of Roald Dahl's books written on yellow paper with a pencil. How fabulous. Um, but again, make sure that you have no distractions. Tell your family and friends, don't bother contacting me or expecting me to do this because I'm writing my book. When I wrote my second book, Wallahi, and I wrote that in 7 days, that was after I'd done a lot of research. And I sat down, I made a post on Facebook, and I said to people, don't expect me to respond to any messages by phone or here. And please don't turn up at my house because I'm writing a book this next week. And at the end of each day, I would tell people what my word count was. And then I didn't respond to any messages. The next day, I would just post how many words I've done. And sometimes that can hold you accountable. I didn't have an author coach at that point. And I tell you what, I really wished I had have done. I might have got it written a lot quicker, but I did write 77,000 words in 7 days. I am very disciplined and very focused. But I got people around me aware of what was going on. They supported me in that way. And that is one of the best ways to write a book, sitting down, dedicating time. Because this is not something that is an addition to your life. This becomes part of your life. So if you are thinking about writing a book, make sure that you're ready to do it. And if that means hiring a coach such as myself at the beginning of your journey, if that means writing and then getting someone like myself to do a manuscript after you've done your first draft to actually feed back to you, or even just booking one-off calls with an author coach. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you. I hope that what I've shared with you today has helped you on your journey. I'm going to stop sharing now. I hope that that's helped you on your journey. And if there is any questions that you would like to send me, drop them in the comments below or send me an email. And yeah, I'll do my very best to answer your questions. There's not much more I can say on this topic because if I do, then I'll give away all of the other seminar series. And as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. I'm passionate about great literature. I don't like the litter bin of literature that's being created at the moment with people just regurgitating all of the BS that's out there. If you're gonna write a book, make sure it's one worthy of your life. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've learned a lot. If you've got questions, like I say, let me know and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you so much. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.